Alright, got a engine here. This is a 2.4 ecotec. The motor had head gasket problems, and it needed to be pulled out. So got it extracted, got a new one in there with 120,000 miles, and it's running perfect. So this was the one. I've done videos on this motor, or the motor that was in the car. It was a 2008 Chevy Malibu. This engine, I can't begin to tell you, it was commonly neglected. She would commonly run out of oil in this car, and it's the craziest thing that it didn't survive. It survived running low on oil. It just didn't survive running a little hot. So what happened? The water pump failed. That's out. It leaked. The owners ran the car hot because the original owner don't own it no more. The daughter got rid of it, and the grandparents ran the car a little hot. Ran till it shut down, and she bad. So we're going to pull this motor apart. I'm just very curious to see what it looks like inside of it, being that, again, she did not keep the oil changes up on a regular basis. I had to add oil on a multitude of occasions. She did not keep this car up. So the timing chain, I'm curious to see what that looks like. I'm curious to see what the internals look like when we pull this cam cover off, or the valve cover, whatever you want to call it. I'm curious to see what the bottom end looks like. What it looked like in the crankcase. So that's the, oh shoot, I'm about to fall over. So those are what we're going to do. I'm just pretty confident that those guides are just going to be worn out. I mean, unless this car these engines are just extremely well lubricating itself. I don't like these engines because they just don't seem to be well put together. But this one seemed to have held up through the test of time and neglect from this girl here. So, but again, other engines in there, and it runs great. So we're going to pull this down. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to pull off this intake, and we'll throttle body, then we'll pull off the intake, fuel rail, and then we'll pull the cam cover off, and then we'll be able to, look inside of it. So let's do that. Let's get a look at this oil here. See if I can stay right there. That's what we got oil-wise. Just throttle plate. Map sensor here. Got the injector rail off. Here's the line for the purge valve. Move that over. Oh, you know what I didn't do? Take this dipstick off. let's look at our intake valves here. It looks really good. Again, it has 255,000 miles. And imagine how a direct injection engine would look like with 255,000 on there. All right, let's take the coils out and the oil control valves. So we can take these out here. It's going to be 13 millimeter. It's 13 also. Evap purge valve. We got the bracket here. Got our intake side cam position sensor. It's a 10 millimeter. This is that thingamabob here. Measures the position of the cam. Here's the exhaust side cam position sensor. 10 millimeter also. These are interchangeable. So if you have like cam position issues on one bank, you can swap the exhaust with the intake, and this does look worse. There's a lot of sludge built up on this one. These fasteners do help support the valve cover, so you have to have the coils in there to help keep the spark plug tubes sealed properly. You'll see that when I pull them off. The valve covers two pieces. $10mm also. Take off the exhaust and intake oil control valve. Jeez Louise. Whew, they are in there. Now I could wait till I just get the cover off, pull it out, but I'm being impatient. Even when you replace these, I mean, it doesn't matter if you break it or not, but I mean, you will have to replace them. Look at that, that's sludge on there. You'll replace them with the valve cover on there. Look at that chunk. So it's got to be a lot of sludge in there. So we're gonna. This is the exhaust side. Let's get that. Let's get the intake side. This one look a lot better. I mean, as much as she neglected it, I assume it would have been worse. Oh, that's the part of the oil control valve that came off. All right, here we go. 255,000. Smell hot. Oh wow, that's this is what I suspect. I don't know if you noticed. The guide, it did rattle a little bit, but I'm surprised it didn't rattle. So one of the guides are completely broken off. Like I said, I'm surprised it didn't rattle as worse as it could. I did recommend doing a timing chain and everything on here, but I'm kind of glad we didn't, because I would have found out that the head gasket was obviously blown. The water pump was leaking so bad that I mean, you wouldn't have been able to notice the pressure pushing out the combustion chambers into the water jackets. Anyway, so I'm kind of glad I didn't do a timing chain on here, and this is my first time actually inspecting and seeing it. Like I said, I'm surprised it didn't rattle worse than what it did when it was running. So let's pull this front cover off and look at the rest of the timing chain. I think I could have taken this off without having to use a puller, if I remember. Yep. Okay. I think I could. You just gotta pull it just right. Tell you what. There's no groove developed, so it got adequate lubrication down there. The harmonic balance was a 21 millimeter. Just 15 to get that off. It's a tensioner. I'll take off this motor mount bracket, 18 millimeter. What am I missing? Oh, it's a fastener in the back. There's a 13 directly behind here. Take out this bracket here. I think that's about everything. Oops. Oh shit. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. So the oil pump's integrated in here on this front housing. There's our oil pump. There's our oil pump pressure regulating spring here inside of there. Making a mess. Now remember, I did take the, I mean obviously I took the water pump out, I told you that earlier. But there's a special tool you would use to get that out of there. So here's our, take this out. That's how the pulley look with the water pump. Here's our timing chain, here's our guides. Whoa, something fell off, just broke. What was that? Oh, yeah, this is like part of the guide there. Things falling apart. Where did this go? What this goes somewhere. It goes to a guide. I'm not sure where. But we're gonna pull everything off. Now I will admit, when I would start the carb, it would have a rattle, but it would subside. Here's the guide for the water pump. I mean, everything smells burnt. That's a really deep groove in there. Take off the tensioner. These are hydraulically controlled. Here's where the oil channel go, the hydraulically control the tensioner here. Take off the cam caps here. Wow, there's some scoring there, so you can tell there was a lot of evidence of running low on oil. This is one of the first many signs. Let me see if my, there we go. See, I get my light on there. You can see all that. That is really rough. So this, like I said, this car ran low on oil multiple times, so it wouldn't surprise me at the bottom end the bearings are like that. Here's the guide. Well, what was one? It's like a, oh shit. There's a rail that's supposed to go above this and keep that timing chain pushed down, but it's supposed to go like that, but it's nothing on there, obviously. Bear with, my phone continues to overheat. The center portion of that valve cover I was referring to, why you got to have your coils fastened down in there, because when you get the set, it's two pieces. I found out where that broken piece was. It's right down in there. I don't know if I can zoom in on that. That guide is broken. We'll pull that out later. Here's our rocker arms and our lifters. These are hydraulic. Let's see what she looked like. So we got the head removed. Here's our head gasket. It's not bent up or anything. I mean, unless it was from me when I pulled the head up originally. So I can get. And that's me just flexing this thing. Trying to see if there was anything that was more evident. I mean, it was, when I tell you it was mildly blown, it was extremely mild. I don't like that. Like these, they got notches between the chambers here, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't affect anything. But just me. It's like the deck is open like a B18. So I'm not sure which cylinder is blown, but that's that. So here was where our guide was messed up. There's our broken guide right there. This was on the intake side. Get the focus there. It's our primary chain. The secondary. It's 15 to get off the balance shaft gear here. Pour that out. Pain in the ass to get out, I'll tell you that. It's the balance shaft here on the intake side. This is what that joker looks like. This is just the oil squirter here. Is it's just got a valve on there where it's directional. A little valve right there shoots the oil out a particular direction. Sure, the timing chain or wherever has adequate lubricant. Here's the gear for the primary timing chain, and here's a second one. This is not a reluctor wheel. The crank sensors in the intake side. on by the starter on this particular vehicle. So if you was to take the balance shaft out, you will just take the 15 off here for the gear, then at 10, then get that cover off somehow. This is bad. It's got a play in there. I don't think it's supposed to be like that. Alright, we're gonna get this oil pan pulled off, inspect the bottom end. I'm gonna call it a day. It's a little late, man. So this has a oil pan and does have like a sub assembly. So we'll see what that looks like when we get this pan off. This is the motor's put together, well, the block is in 3 sections. Let's see what we got. Bottom side of our oil pan there does have quite a bit of sludge. A nice little bit in that corner there. Here's our crank assembly. Seems like there's a sub assembly here, like a girdle that holds the crankshaft in place, and the main caps. So probably we'll just pull a piston out and see what that looks like. If you look, so here's the front of the engine, number 1, 2, 3, 4, and down here is where our pickup, our trigger wheel is for the I can't even get it out right. What is that damn thing called? The crank sensor. So it's in the back. Like I said, it's under the starter, and between these peaks and valleys here, where you get the crank sensor will pick up its on and off signal. And you see that big gap right there. If you look at a waveform, you'll be able to see this pattern basically laid out, and you'll see that gap typically where it would start over again, or but depending on the algorithm, it'll start its process over again, or just determine a point in position. So let's just pull one of the pistons out and see what it looks like. And well, either that was detonation or just excessive clearance. It's probably with a little bit of detonation, or combination of both. Yeah, this oil is dirty. Maybe it's me and my gloves. It just fell right on out. I mean, ideally you would like it to have a snug fit. Yeah, see the bearing ain't even sitting in the cap there. Maybe it was just me. This is one of the pistons. This is number 3. This is a floating style piston. It has a lock in there at the wrist pin. These rings look really good. Imagine if this was a Toyota, these rings would just look pure horrible and have an oil consumption problem. This car, these pistons got rid of oil very well, or just have really good lubrication in the cylinder walls. One problem if it might have just oil squirters up there. Yeah, it has oil squirters. It's right there on the, it's on the, what would be the exhaust side in the back. So that's why these have such good lubrication and these look so well. Let's take a look at number 2. Same thing. These are treated skirts, which is nice. Same. These rings look great. That's like the best looking thing on this car is the piston rings. Everything else just look horrible. These are massive. 2.4 liter. Just in case you're curious, here's the oil filter housing here. We're on the intake side. Here's the oil pressure switch if you want to take that out. And then you got the crank sensor that resides here. And then you got the knock sensor. So, I mean, I will give Chevy credit. And then you got a wasp nest here. Oh, gosh. See if anybody's in there. Oh, there's one. Oh, my gosh. Ew. Oh, God, it's fucking disgusting. So, there's, so I'll give it to Chevy. They put all the integral sensors right here in the front. I mean, they're accessible. The starter switch are right there. So, kudos to them. They do make things simple. I will give Chevy that. It's not a, best engine, but I'll blame it on the customer. She should have kept her oil changed on a regular basis. So I'll say, for what happened with this car, it was just, oh shoot, just to give it credit. I mean, it could have lasted a lot longer. I mean, if the water pump had been replaced, 100,000 miles ago. But I've personally never seen one of these go bad. I'll give Chevy credit when credit's due. I mean, they did make a robust water pump. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen a lot of them go bad, or I haven't seen any go bad, really. I mean, maybe they put it in a good location. Maybe because it's girthy, it's real thick, it is able to cool itself really well and keep the bearings from wearing out prematurely in comparison to a lot of other vehicles. But, I mean, this was spewing out pretty bad, and once I got a water pump replaced, I mean, it once it started holding pressure, it just kept pushing out. I mean, it just wouldn't hold. It had a weak spot in this head gasket here. I'm not sure exactly where. I was under the impression I might be able to see it, but again, it was mild. And then once the car would warm up or under certain pressures, because it makes about 180 psi in the combustion chambers here. I mean, and beyond. So it's enough to push out into the coolant jackets here that only make about 14 psi pressure. So the greater forces, the overwhelming one will definitely be no competition for 14 psi. So I'll give credit. I mean, like I said, the car does a damn good job of lubricating itself. I did not find that other rail that goes on the top there on the cylinder head. Like, who knows where it is? Probably in Narnia or somewhere. And honestly, as long as the car lasted between oil change intervals, it was real delinquent. It held up. It definitely could have lasted a lot longer if they would have changed the timing chain back in 100,000 miles or so, and kept the oil change intervals a lot tighter. But I mean, it seemed like the women that usually neglect the car, have the ball tires, tend to have the best luck. That's what it seems like. Who knows? But yeah, other than that, didn't take long to break this motor down. I used a 15, 10 millimeter, 13 millimeter, and 11 to get the piston, the rod caps off. So I mean, this is a pretty simplistic motor to disassemble. Mostly 10mm fastening, 13s, and a 21 for the harmonic balancer. But other than that, I'm going to call it a day because it's getting late and mosquitoes are starting to come out here. So other than that, hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, have reassurance on my work. See you next one.